Hello, everyone. My name is Matthew Gates with In the Building LA, which is an online news source dedicated to the people, projects, and policies that are reshaping South LA. Um, while obviously one piece of that real estate puzzle is the physical spaces, the other more important piece is always the people. And so, with all the uncertainty across the globe related to the COVID crisis, I thought it was particularly important to spend some time focusing on the destabilizing effects that this crisis is having on our local businesses, restaurants, retailers that have grown organically over time in our community, and how some of them are evolving in order to survive. So with that in mind, I wanted to welcome Celia Ward-Wallace, the co-founder of South LA Cafe. For those of you who don't know, South LA Cafe opened in November of 2019, is located at 1700 Browning Boulevard near the intersection of Western and King. I'm here this morning with Celia Ward-Wallace from South LA Cafe. How are you doing this morning?
I'm actually doing really great today. Thank you for asking.
Outstanding, outstanding. And I really want to sit down with you because I think you represent sort of this next generation of community-centric businesses that have emerged across South LA and Inglewood in the last couple of years. And so before we get into that, forgetting about business for a moment, like on a human level, like how are you and your family doing and adjusting to this kind of new environment?
Yeah, I mean, we're hanging in there. We're carrying. We feel like we're carrying a great level of responsibility for the South Central community and honestly for the larger community globally. And so it's a challenging time because we're wanting to make sure that we're taking care of ourselves and taking care of our family. And obviously,
Yep.
like all people, we have a web of people that we're responsible for just in our nuclear family and circle.
Sure.
And our neighbors, we already, Joe, my husband, is known as like the neighbor of our block. Excuse me, the mayor of our block. And so we already are getting the knocks on the door, the phone calls or the texts just on our local little nuclear level. But then when you add in the cafe and the work we've done with our partnerships with the people in the community, all the organizations, the leaders, everything that we're up to, it's a lot. And yet at the same time, I think like a lot of people, we're feeling like this is part of our destiny. This is part of our calling. This is what we are on the planet to do. And if not us, then who? The same way we started the cafe was if not us, then who? Like if we want to make the change in our community that we want to see, we have to be willing to put all the chips on the table and, go all in for the community. And in this time of crisis, we feel the same way. There's a deep responsibility for us to help lead and protect our community in the process, and really also be a beacon of hope, a beacon of innovation, transformation, healing, and also information and education, right? It's like just like we're doing right now. We need to have these conversations. We need to break down what's happening in the world so that our community is informed and they get access to the opportunities and resources they need.
Yes, that's it's a big burden, definitely. I'm not sure how much of that you initially, when you guys launched the building business, how much of that you thought you were going to be taking on. Obviously, this is unprecedented times, and I know that folks around the community are definitely appreciative of the efforts that you and your staff have gone through over the last couple of weeks to kind of be that pillar, to be a resource that folks can lean on. To that end, I believe I saw recently you're delivering meals to seniors. I think in partnership with Marquise Harris Dawson and District Council
CD8.
8. Yeah. Could you explain a little bit about the work you're doing there?
Yeah. They say in business, in real estate, it's location, location, location. And in business, it's like relationships, 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 And so one of the things that we knew very early on was it was going to be very important for our success that we build deep rooted relationships with community leaders all the way up to the federal level, even on the global level. But definitely local leadership and local organizations and entrepreneurs becoming really a part of a web of support. And so that's something that South LA Cafe was always designed to do, was to become a cultural institution, a centerpiece where people could come and gather and connect and network and weave together. And so very quickly, we developed a deeply rooted collective of local businesses, nonprofit organizations, and political leadership. And through that, when this started to happen about 6 weeks to 2 months ago, when we started seeing what was happening in other countries, Joe and myself saw the writing on the wall that this was coming to the US and that we were going to have to make some drastic changes to be able to survive. And we started to reach out to those contacts and those relationships that we had. Some of those were people with the mayor's office, and some of those were people with the council office, Council 8. And so we immediately reached out to them and said, you know, we're not sure what you're going to do, but we want to be on the forefront of helping lead that, the change that we're going to need in our community and the movements we're going to need in our community. And we also want to make sure you think of us when you're thinking of, you know, local businesses that are going to need support. Please put us at the top of the list. And so, you know, very gratefully, Marquise Harris Dawson's team with Council District 8 has been deeply connected with us every step of the way, checking in on us, but also wanting our feedback and input into the innovative ideas that we're coming up with, how to serve the community. And so, as we know, with COVID-19, one of the most at-risk groups are seniors. We also know that typically lower income communities and communities of color have higher risk just in general with health issues, right? Due to many social issues and disparities in our healthcare system. And so because of that, our seniors are sort of doubly at risk, not just being seniors, but also being of color seniors, most of them. And so that being said, we knew that they needed to stay in the house and have as little exposure to germs and other people as possible, but they also need to eat. And so Council District 8 came up with a great program where they've essentially secured funds that they had allocated for another purpose and got approval for those funds to be released. And sort of overnight, they created a web of, you know, it looks like now we're up to maybe 20 local food service businesses in South Central LA that are part of a collective of small businesses that are packaging those meals and then often doing door-to-door delivery or delivery to senior homes. And then as a result, the council district is paying us for that. And so, it sort of killed two birds with one stone, or, took care of two issues. One is how to help businesses that previously were thriving and now maybe starting to fail because they don't have enough revenue coming in, and also feed our community and take care of our seniors. And so we've been very fortunate. We're entering now our second week of that program, and we've already personally prepared and served, almost over 200 meals. And Joe, my husband, he's doing the door-to-door delivery, which is still a contactless delivery. We're delivering the food with gloves and masks and in bags. But he does, ring the doorbell and then step away, leave the food. And then so he's getting the opportunity to have the actual exchange with the community. And as Marquise said, it adds a whole nother level also of benefit to us as businesses that, once we get on the other side of this and we're able to reopen fully, the seniors in our community will have that sense of, real pride and loyalty that, South LA Cafe took care of me during this time of crisis, as well as all of these other local businesses. So that's really an added benefit as well.
Yeah, it's very forward-thinking and progressive approach to a problem that I think obviously benefits the city. It's in obviously everybody's best interest to keep you all afloat during this time. But I think it also shows that nobody is looking strictly to looking for a pure government solution where there's just a handout of money or a mortgage holiday or whatever. No, we want partnership between the city, between the local government and the businesses in order to provide maximum value that extends beyond just staying in business, like you're keeping people employed.
Yeah.
and off of unemployment, which allows folks to tap into different resources when it comes to medical care. You're, like you said, you're providing a valuable service in terms of distributing food to folks who are high risk for contracting COVID. And so we want to minimize the amount of time that they have to spend out in grocery stores and whatnot just to get food. We have no real idea of how long this crisis is going to last, unfortunately. And so you're tackling, or you're partnering with them in a way that I think is really innovative, and hopefully can serve as a model or blueprint for a lot of other municipalities around the country. To that end, so how do you, for folks like myself, since we've kind of been on a citywide shutdown, my wife and I, maybe we'll go to the grocery store every, maybe once a week. Try to minimize it as much as possible. I have not ordered out any takeout food from any service, and for us who were frequent DoorDash and Grubhub users, it has been nice to reconnect with just eating at home and cooking, right?
Turning that gas on and, frying something up on
you're remembering how those skills, dusting off the skills and remembering how the kitchen functions. But then the other piece is just, part of it is just because we're not sure about sort of the steps that restaurants are taking to ensure that the food that's being delivered and is safe, right? So
For sure.
So could you speak to some of the steps that you all have implemented, not only for the in-house, but also for the delivery? You mentioned gloves and bags and minimizing human contact during those exchanges. But
Yeah.
could you speak to the general health protocols that you've adopted?
For sure. Well, just to say in the first place, if you operate a business, a food business, you have to take food handler certification. So you do learn about, in the first place, how to, make sure everything you're doing is as germ-free as possible, not spreading any viruses or sicknesses in the first place. So the good news is that South LA Cafe always took this very seriously. We all on our team are sort of in the germaphobe zone. So there, my husband's an old school Black man, so he's like, bleach is, his favorite friend. I'm a new wave, sort of hippie, socially conscious person. So I'm always about the green cleaners, but he's like, ain't nothing wrong with the bleach, So right now he's like, I told you it was always about the bleach, he's like, oh, you like the bleach now,
Right.
So we're doing a lot of bleach. But anyhow, that to say, we overnight had to, once our governor went to the shelter in place order and also closed all businesses except essential businesses, and all restaurants had to go to takeout orders only. That was a really important moment for us of sink or swim, right? And so we had not previously had set up a way for people to order from us so that we could do takeout only. And so it was a little bit of like a, oh shit, what are we going to do now moment. But what a lot of people don't know about me is I actually have my own coaching and consulting firm. Joe and I have been working in business together for over 25 years, but I personally have been a full-time coach and consultant in my own firm. And I have a team of people that work with me, and we specifically work with, entrepreneurs, socially conscious business and brands. And we work on strategy and innovation and branding and marketing, but in a way that is focused on social enterprise and social impact. So that being said, the good news is I've been hanging out online for the last decade. I'm very comfortable with technology. I'm very comfortable with Zoom and, all the things that people are just now going like, oh crap, there's all, how do I do this? I don't even know how to push the buttons. I've been teaching classes of global leaders online, 50 to 100 people at a time for the last decade. So I'm very comfortable. So immediately I went into innovation mode of like, okay, we need an app. We need a way for people to do this. And I searched out all the best options, and I found an app that we created and launched in a day, working in partnership with a company that actually is called the Joe Coffee app, which is perfect branding for us.
Right.
You know, so we launched the Joe Coffee app, and then they have, you know, obviously you can download it anywhere you find it, but they also have a really easy way, you know, again, a sort of innovative way to just tell people how to text and be able to download the app. So we just tell people, you just text the word coffee to the phone number 474747, and immediately in your phone it prompts you to download it. Once you have that app set up, you can go online where it will only show us open during the hours that we're open. And you can also search for other local coffee shops in your area. So it's not just us. You'll find in South Central, we have a lot of our sister and brother stores are also on this app, and you can select the store that you want. Once you go in, presuming you select South LA Cafe, you'll see our menu. You select the items that you want. And then when you check out, you just check that you want curbside delivery as your option, or curbside pickup. And
Okay.
then on our end, we get the order, we fulfill the order. And when you pull up, you just pick up that app, you say, I'm here. We hear on our side in the actual cafe, the sound of a horn of a car. And then we know you've arrived. And then we, with our gloves and our masks, which we're wearing at all times, gloves and masks, and changing out. We are luckily, like I said, I did anticipate this. We did anticipate this. So we totally, you know, got sort of stocked up. So we have enough PPE equipment for us to be able to do a really great job at the cafe. And then we just take it out to your car. We don't touch anything. You don't touch any, like we just do a contactless handoff. And then we come back in the cafe, we take our gloves off, we wash our hands, we put a new fresh pair of gloves on as well. We're also having people still able to come to the cafe, even if they don't use the app, and take orders. And yet we have a sign that stops them at the door that says the line starts here. We are doing 6 feet social distancing. And so we will allow one person to come in at a time. And we have the cafe set up where there's almost like a little bit of a blockade. You can't actually go in the cafe. You can't actually go into the restroom, but you can step in. And then Joe or myself usually will be the one to receive you and say, welcome, you know, how can we take care of you? We'll put the order in. And we are still taking cards and cash. And it is something that, you know, we're like really conscious of, like, okay, how do we do this in a good way? And so we're pretty extreme. Like, you know, we're taking sanitizer and wiping down cards that people are giving us. We also are spraying the cash that we get with like a disinfectant, like, you know, before we putting it in the cash register.
Yeah.
And then when we're doing the transaction with the person, you know, we have hand sanitizer right there. We're telling them immediately to, you know, make sure you sanitize your hands before you leave, as well as we are also. And so we go through a whole cleansing process after every single customer as well.
Okay. Got it. Got it. Now, you mentioned earlier that some of the partnership, obviously, with the local government, and I know that there's been a lot out about federal, state, and local responses and efforts to support small businesses like yours, at least in the short term, right? Haven't heard of anything that really takes a look beyond 90 days, but at least
Yeah.
that's the kind of window that we're looking at. So, to at least to your understanding so far, are the measures that have been taken, at least legislatively, are they enough to help businesses like yours stay afloat? Or are businesses who maybe haven't been able to adapt to the new um, uh, internet-driven or technologically driven approach to servicing customers, or the ones who are just generally just struggling because their model is maybe based off more of a dine-in experience? Are some of those small businesses, particularly in our community, going to get the help that they need through the existing policies, or do we run the risk that a lot of these businesses may not pull through to the other side?
I think the reality is we run the risk that a lot of the businesses may not pull through to the other side. I think that that's a fact. And so I think that we will have to figure out what there is to be done about that. I think if you are a solopreneur, or a business that doesn't drive high levels of revenue, or you don't have savings, or you didn't have a game plan, or like you said, maybe you're not comfortable with technology. The challenge that I'm seeing right now is that things are changing so rapidly that in order to stay in the game, well, first of all, if you're not an essential business, and if you're not a food service or pharmacy or grocery store kind of place, you're not even allowed to be open right now. And so unless you have been able to transition to providing services online somehow to people, you are not going to be able to drive any form of revenue if what you did was an in-person service. And so for all of those people, if they haven't already, they definitely should be pursuing all the relief options out there, which I can go through just very briefly with you. But for everybody else who is in food service or potentially an essential service and still being able to stay open, I think unless you're able to do what I'm calling like the great pivot, which is like, whatever you were doing before, well, this is actually for everybody. Whatever you were doing before may not be what you're doing after COVID. And so what has to happen right now, even though we're all in a bit of PTSD or even trauma, or like a little bit of like fight, flight, or freeze, right? Some people are frozen. And so it's like, you have to be able to snap out of the frozen and say, okay, what can I do now? And there's a difference between what can I do now that will drive revenue to keep my business in place. That may or may not be possible. It just is a fact. It may or may not be possible. But what is possible is, what can I do now that is innovative, that is something that is serving people right now and what they need right now? So how can you take something that you were already doing prior and in some ways reinvent yourself or reinvent your business, and now actually serving a demand and a need that people need right now, whether or not you're getting paid for it, right? Whether, just right now, building goodwill and staying in the game, even if you're just like we're doing, creating content, having conversations, doing free webinars, creating, I know a woman that, created handbags, and now she's creating not N95, but, lightweight masks, because they're saying everybody needs a lightweight mask now, just in general, right? So she's just being innovative. So what we need to be thinking about is, what is that great pivot that we're all going to make in life, whether it's with our business or not? And all that to be said, we're all in it together. And so Joe and I have already faced bankruptcy. We have already faced foreclosure. We went through the great crash of 2008, right? And so we've already been wiped out. We know what it looks like to be facing the bottom and having to rebuild yourself all over again. And I think because of that, we have some level of resilience in our spirit of like, we know what the bottom looks like, and we'll be okay if that happens. And yet we're going to fight to keep ourselves from getting to that point. Yeah. And so I think for everybody else to just hold some sense of hope and almost like solace of like, we are all in it together, and whatever is going to happen, they're going to have to figure it out, because everybody's going through it, and it's not your fault. You didn't do anything wrong. The fact that possibly your business is having to close, or you may, whatever happened, it's not anything that you did. And so right now it's about riding the wave and trying to figure out, how to see the pieces that you can grab onto and say like, okay, I'm going to try this. I'm going to try that. This might be a life support. And so with that being said, just really quickly on the actual relief programs that have come out.
Yep. That was going to be my next question.
Yeah. What I know, what I want to say is, first of all, I've heard a lot about, there's people who, I think there's a difference between being innovative and coming up with a service to help people navigate these different loan programs and stuff, and also people who are being opportunists or possibly taking advantage of people that need support. So if you're somebody who does not know what to do with pursuing any of these pathways, I would just like to say, like at South LA Cafe, we're on Instagram. That's usually where people find us the most, at South LA Cafe on Instagram. You can always send us a message. As you know, I'm the one who manages our Instagram messages. And if you're trying to figure out what the best pathway for you is, I would just say, go ahead and ask me. You can also send us an email, southlacafe@gmail.com. And again, I'm the one who receives that, and I will help you. Of course, if I get hundreds and hundreds of inquiries, I don't know if I can handle that, but just to say, my concern is there are people who are preying upon people who are confused right now, and you don't want to give anybody your financial information. You don't want to give anybody your social security information. You don't want to be giving out your credit card information. And because we're all so stressed out and trying to figure out what to do, our guards are down. And I'm getting calls and emails, literally 5 to 10 people already a day saying, I can help you, I know what to do, and all of that. So that being said, just really quickly on the programs that exist, there is a SBA disaster relief loan that will be available. You can apply for right now. And that will look at all of your losses and all of your revenue, and hopefully give you a more significant loan to help essentially keep you on your feet for however long this is going to go, so that on the other side of this, you will be able to rebuild. And what they're going to want to see is that you have a game plan for how you're going to get back into running your business once this gets back up and going. So what you don't want to show is like, I had to shut. It's okay if you had to close your business temporarily. It's okay if you had to lay people off temporarily. You don't have a choice about that. But if you're saying, and I'm going to go bankrupt, and I can't pay my bills, and I'm never going to start my business again, you're not going to be a good candidate to get a loan. But if you say, I'm following the rules, I'm temporarily closing, and yet I'm working night and day on my master plan of how I'm going to come back and kill it when we reopen, and you have revenue and sales to show previously, you would be a great candidate for this relief loan. So please make sure you apply, and please know it will take, right now, it looks like it could take 2 months before you would actually get a check. Okay. So that might be the one that gives you the most money, but it's not going to be the one that's going to come quickly. They are also offering an SBA relief loan advance up to $10,000. And so that I just applied for last night. It is a 3-page application. It's very straightforward. And you can put that in right now and potentially get approved within a week and get $10,000 advanced to you to give you that buffer that you need. And that money honestly can be used however you want to use it, for, paying your bills, for paying for groceries. If you get approved for the larger loan, that $10,000 will become part of that loan. If you don't get approved for that larger loan, there's a possibility that $10,000 advance will actually be forgiven. There's 2 other programs that I want to mention really quickly. There is also, I think it's called the PPP. It's part of the CARES Act. It's part of the payroll protection loan program, right? So if you had payroll, if you had employees on your payroll, and you now are having to downsize your staff, and possibly you want to be able to still pay people, you may still, like if you're on payroll, you may still need to get, income. There is a loan program that is launching. I believe that they're going to start taking applications Friday, which is, as we're recording that, this is tomorrow. And it will go directly through, if you are a business and you do business banking, your bank that you bank with will be the person that takes that application and processes that loan. And what they're going to look at for that is 2.5 times your average payroll for the last year. And so whatever if it was $10,000 a month, that loan may be up to $25,000 if you can show all of what you need to show. And if you use 75% of what you receive for payroll towards payroll, it's potentially the whole loan can be forgiven. And
Right.
so that's something to consider. And then the last thing that I wanted to say is the city of Los Angeles also, and I have not yet applied for this, but I plan to do in the next couple of days, has a microloan program. And I believe that that is up to $20,000 or up to $25,000. And I think the terms are, you can do a really short-term loan, which in general I wouldn't advise, because it's like a 6 to 12-month term. If you do that, it's only a 0% interest rate. If you do the longer term, which I believe they're doing is up to 5 years, I believe it's something like a 3 to 5% interest rate. And personally for us, that's what we would do. So, because
Mm.
we don't know what's going to happen. I don't want to
Yep.
commit to paying something back in 6 months.
Correct.
But that is another program you can apply for. From what I've heard though, they have 3 people working on processing applications. And so that again could be something that takes a long time. So I would still recommend you apply for all of these things. The 2 programs that I think potentially you would get funding from the quickest are the SBA emergency relief loan advance program. That's the one up to $10,000. So that could come within a week from what I heard. And the other one is the PPP program, which is the payroll protection program. That also, in theory, could move as quickly as 3 to 4 weeks. And so I know that's a little more
Yeah.
comprehensive maybe than what you wanted, but there you
No,
go.
no, that's perfect. And it sounds like in addition to maybe some patience, because none of these things, even the quicker programs, will still take time to process, right? And but so in addition to some patience, it sounds like you're suggesting that folks spend the time to create a vision, right? And
Yeah.
really think about the narrative that they want to put forward to these entities on these
Mm-hmm.
applications,
Mm-hmm.
because it's really the vision, your strategic vision for how you're going to move forward. This
Mm-hmm.
may signal the success or doom the application from the jump. They want to know
Absolutely.
that you have a game plan, that you have a strategy, that you're capable of executing, so that they obviously, like all lenders, eventually want to get the money back,
Right.
and with as little risk as possible.
Right. For sure.
Got it. Couple of things. I saw online, I believe it's on Instagram. You all are running, South LA Cafe is running a $10 a month kind of membership
Mm-hmm.
program that I believe runs for 3 months. So basically, what you're asking folks is to commit to $30 over the course of 3 months. Um, what is that program? What do I get out of it as a consumer, other than just knowing that that I'm helping you stay afloat? And then from a business standpoint, what does that additional revenue help you do in terms of planning moving forward?
Yeah, absolutely. So we created again, an example of innovation, right? And sometimes when your back is up against the wall, you know, you need to do whatever you can to get out of that position. And so Joe, my husband, you know, sort of had this download about a 3-month supporter campaign. It was very important to him that we didn't present it as a program or even really as a membership or really as something beyond 3 months, because, you know, again, you know, he's an old school Black man, and you know, he didn't want it to feel like, you know, we need you to like take care of us forever. And he also wanted people to be giving out of the goodness of their heart, not giving because they thought they were going to get something in exchange. While of course we have lots of things that we can give people and things we have given people, and certainly also programs on their way that people would pay for. This wasn't meant to be something that, you know, you give because you're going to get. This was meant to be, we feel very strongly that we have given a lot already, that we feel very strongly in our value and what we do for the community. We are acting every day to create content, to connect with resources, to be a beacon of hope and light in both online, but in person. And we didn't say in the intro, but you know, we are long-term residents of South Central. My husband is born and raised here. My parents are full-time community organizers in the civil rights and women's rights movements. And they're in their 70s, and they've been doing it since they were 20. And so I was raised in a very progressive, political, social justice oriented household that was focused on service and community organizing. So when we created South LA Cafe, it came out of the belief in actually in an anti-gentrification effort on our part to say, we see what's happening to our community. You know, the properties are being bought up, the streets are becoming colonized, you know, with, you know, people coming in and developing things that aren't even anything that anybody wanted. And they're not for the people who are here. They're for the people that are coming. And so the writing was on the wall that the community was changing rapidly. And instead of, you know, instead of sitting at home and being pissed about it and not doing anything, we felt like we carried a lot more privilege than a lot of the people in our community. And we wanted to really take all of the privilege that we had and invest in our community to create a space that, of course, that serves coffee, but, you know, our mantra is coffee, community, connection. And the coffee was the way to get people in the door. And once they were in the door, we could build a community and we could deepen our connection and we could organize and, you know, really rise up together. And so within the year prior to us open, we had our Instagram page up and we were really documenting our journey. We built a very strong cult, you know, community following that way. Once we opened in November, the doors opened, people flooded in. You know, we've already hosted over 10 events just in the 4 months we were open. You know, we did mental health panels, we did a Kobe tribute day, we did the first South LA open mic night. And so, and we have deep, deep relationships already, like I said, with the local organizations, community coalition, the neighborhood council, the council's office. So people already understand that we are a pillar of the community. We are a cultural institution. We are here for the long haul and we are here for the community. And yet our revenues are down 80%. And so, you know, you take a business that was thriving, that also has high level overhead. You know, if you run, you know, this is just a little math, a little business here, but if you run a food service business, typically you may have a net after everything profit of 10%. Okay. And so that means 90% of the dollars that come in are allocated for what it requires to run that business. And so when you drop down to 20% of that 100%, now you're you know, you're trying to make $1 out of 15 cents. You know what I mean? Like you're trying to like divide it up. And so for us, we've cut the corners everywhere we can. We trimmed the fat. You know, we streamlined our process. He and I currently are not getting paid. Like, you know, there's all kinds of things we've done to be able to keep the lights on, keep serving the community, but we still have to buy food. You know, we still have to pay our vendors. We still have to pay our staff. We still have to get all the protective stuff that we need in place. And all of that costs money. And so what we've done is we came to the community and said, we need your help. We just kept it real. We need your help. This is not a program. This is not a membership. You're not getting anything except for the fact that you are getting a local, family-owned, minority-owned, South Central based people business to stay open. So when we're on the other side, you guess what? You get to come back in here and you get to be in a space where people actually know you, like you, care about you, welcome you, and it feels like home. And if you want us to still be here, we need your help. And so the 3-month campaign, basically, we asked people to become a 3-month supporter, $10 a month or more. Some people have done $5, you know, whatever you can kind of thing. And then we just set it up where you can sign up on our website. But we also, again, with technology, tried to figure out how to make this really easy for people. So again, we set up one of these text things. So if you're interested, you just literally text the word help Slack, HELP SLAC to the phone number 38470. So help Slack and text that to 38470. And so once you do that, it'll give you the link. You go right to the membership page or the sign up page to be a supporter, and you just click the level that you want to commit to pay to, and you set up for 3 months. And so we've had already hundreds of people do that from the community. I mean, the outpouring of support has been amazing. And then also we have some people that contact us say, you know, I'd like to go through PayPal, or, can I do a one-time payment, or do you have a Cash App, or do you have Venmo, and we're like, of course, we'll make it all happen. And so
No donation is being refused.
yeah, exactly. Would you like to give us some money? We will happily take it. How would you like to give it?
Right.
Yeah. So it's been very successful. And yet at the same time, I'd say, that's become about 10%, it's been like, if we're down 20%, now we're up, we're down 30%, right? We've increased a 10% of our revenue through that source, but every little bit counts.
Yeah, definitely. And what you're asking folks to do is to support the things that they say that they want.
Yeah,
right?
put their money behind their values. That's what we've said about South LA Cafe all along. It's great that you come one time. It's great that you take a photo and tag us and share on Instagram. But when you decide to put your money behind your values and actually make a political choice to invest in what you believe in, and possibly it costs you more money, possibly it takes more time, possibly it creates a little bit of an inconvenience. But what we're asking everybody in this time, well, even prior to this time, is how can you step out of your comfort zone and actually do something that's moving the needle? And so that's what we are, moving the needle. We're going to move the needle one way or the other, because that's what we're here on the planet to do. But when we get our community behind us, the opportunities are unlimited. Like we are the catalyst for change. And so if you invest in us, then we have more resources to be able to do all the things that ultimately you want to happen in the community.
Yes, you have to empower local businesses, so that otherwise what you get is a urban suburb with a bunch of cultureless, soulless national retailers, who are, they're going to provide a service, and we all, like to go to some of those places sometimes.
Sure.
But the outside of that individual dining experience or that individual retail experience, there's nothing substantial that they're providing back to the community. And so when you look 10 years later and you're like, why don't we have this? How come the tax revenue? A lot of folks don't even realize that a lot of those big box retailers don't even pay the same tax rate on their proceeds that smaller businesses do. And so then that filters its way back into roads, lights, trash pickup, schools, and all the things that we know are important to the future of our community. So definitely want to thank you for the work that you're doing. And if you could one more time just shout out how people can contribute.
It's just, all you have to do is get on your phone and text this word, HELP Slack, HELPSLAC, and the phone number you're texting it to is 38470. Also, like I said, our biggest following and sort of up to date, minute by minute, way to keep up with us is on Instagram. And on Instagram, we're just literally at South LA Cafe. Our website is southlacafe.com. And, we're really, we post 3 or 4 times a day. We're doing lives, we're doing interviews, we're in the game, and we're not only walking the walk and talking the talk, like we are actually trying to also bring to you the information of everything that you need, because everybody's at home right now. And our goal is everybody stay home, stay safe. Of course, we want you, if you choose to come out in your car and do curbside pickup of our services. But otherwise, everybody stay home and let us come to you. Let us come to you to be somewhere where you can go to get the information of, what's the latest thing about COVID-19? Okay, now we're supposed to be wearing masks. Everybody's supposed to be wearing masks when you go outside the door. That just happened yesterday. But if you didn't know that, you can come to South LA Cafe and either look at our page or our stories, and we'll have the latest content up there where you can see what you need to know.
Awesome. Outstanding. Thank you very much for the work that you're doing. Businesses like yours were needed before the crisis. We're definitely going to need you after the crisis. And I appreciate you taking the time out to bless us with an interview and share some insights from your perspective.
Thank you so much. And for everybody out there, just know we're all in this together. You know, our community in particular has been through hard times for a very long time. So, you know, and even before, you know, this neighborhood, from where most of the people in this community have come from, what their ancestors have been through, resilience is in the DNA. And we will get through this, and we will survive, and we will once again thrive together.
Well said. And on that note, that concludes our interview with Celia Ward-Wallace from South LA Cafe. Once again, my name is Matthew Gates with In the Building LA. Be on the lookout for upcoming content from us. You can follow us on Instagram at In the Building LA. Check out our website at www.inthebuildingla.com for the latest news and information. And in the meantime, stay home, stay safe, and we'll see you soon.